Hello everyone, I'm violeta.f.d and welcome to my Resources and ICT final exam. This exam is divided in two parts, so let's start with the first one. My project name is Ecolab 250, the plastics of tomorrow, and the activities are focused for a group of 6th grade students, so they are between 11 and 12 years old. These project themes are a recurrent problem seen in the playground. Every day, the organic bins overflow with plastic wrappers and containers, proving that the students don't know how important it is to recycle. Also, every day, students eat the same snacks. This year's theme is the future, so I asked them this question: how do you think we will eat and shop in 250? To fight this plastic problematic, the objectives of this project are strongly linked with the LOMLOE curriculum. I have considered the specific competencies in an interdisciplinary way, but my idea focuses on natural science. The specific competencies are basically use technology to search information, act like scientists, use computer skills, be aware of the environment, and look for eco-friendly lifestyle. And the basic knowledge I focus on is scientific culture, digitalization and technology, and eco-social awareness. The first thing I did was ask ChatGPT about the ideas for the activities. The first answer ChatGPT gave me was really complete, but a bit of a chaos. Apart from the activities, the AI generated a way to approach different topics. But to do this, it divided 24 students into smaller groups and gave each one of them a different topic. Although this increased the depth of the research, it will cause some of them to understand a problem in a very specific way while remaining completely unaware of others. Furthermore, the challenges are unbalanced. The topic of bioplastic is much more complex than that the healthy snacks. The AI fails to consider that the imbalance between groups can affect equity in the classroom. It is true that it structures very well the steps of the activity. The objectives, lesson development, competencies are what the children should do. It even provides options with the activities so that I, as a teacher, can choose. Another point to criticize is that it doesn't take school resources into account. It proposes activities that could overload class time. Although I found some ideas interesting, I couldn't quite see how to approach them, so I only took a few ideas from this response. Now let's start with the first activity. In Activity 1, Researchers from 250, the students will act as researchers from the future who have traveled back in time to document the waste generated in 2026. They will be divided into groups of 4 and equipped with gloves, garbage bags, tablets, pens, and worksheets. After recess, each group will be assigned an area of the playground where they will search the bins and the ground for trash generated during the break. They will collect and recycle all the trash they find. Afterwards, they will fill out a field journal, noting the items they find, how many of each, and what materials they are made of. For items made of plastic, they will look for the SPI code to determine what type of plastic they are. If they cannot find the code, they will perform transparency and textile test and try to identify them using the label. They will be sure to take photos and label the items. Once in class, they will create a Padlet post for each type of waste, indicating the name and the quantity of the item. Each group will use the color assigned in their zone: Zone 1 red, Zone 2 purple, Zone 3 blue, and Zone 4 yellow. When everyone has posted, the analysis lab will begin. They will count the total number of items that class has collected and the quantity of each type of plastic. Using these two measures, they will calculate the percentage of waste of each type of plastic. Finally, they will research the degradation time of each type of plastic and their eco-friendly alternatives. Once the worksheet is complete, the results will be shared and the impact of plastic will be discussed with the whole class. For Activity 2, Designing Awareness, students will have to design a program and activity in Scratch and must meet the following objectives. Firstly, it has to be interactive. This could be a quiz, a video game, a maze, story, whatever they want. Secondly, it has to include solutions or raise awareness about plastic problems investigated in Activity 1. And finally, it has to include at least one change of costume or background. To encourage them to program independently, they will be given a journal to write down their initial ideas and a guide with all the blocks that they might need, which I created with the help of ChatGPT to define and select the most important blocks. For my example, I created a 3-question environmental quiz. First, I drew my turtle with its costumes. In my case, the Earth with a costume for each question answer option. Depending on whatever the question is answered ecologically or not, the Earth either stays healthy or gets sick. Each costume represents a real-world impact that could occur. The quiz is based in the Earth asking questions. Question number 1 is, in 2026, you were using millions of plastic bottles a day. What did you decide to do with them? A. We installed refill stations and reusable containers. B. We continue using single-use plastics. Question 2. How were your packaging materials manufactured in the factories? With solar energy and plant-based materials, bioplastics, or B. With petroleum derivatives and large chimneys? Question number 3. What did you decide to do with the waste? Compost and bury the plastics and the forests. As you can see, each answer has a visual impact on the Earth. The first example was answering the questions with the contaminated options, and the second one is answering the questions with the eco-friendly options. But if you messed up in one or two, we can only see the impact in that answer. For Activity 3, Video Inventors, students will invent a suitable system or product and present it in a stop-motion animated advertisement. They will have complete freedom with materials such as modeling clay, coloring pencils, paper, and cardboard. The steps are as follows. Number 1. Storyboard. Draw the initial idea for the advertisement. I've created a storyboard template which will be given to the students. Number 2. Prototype. Create all the elements that appear in the advertisement. Number 3. Action. Fill the advertisement frame by frame. Number 4. Editing. Add sound, a catchy song, or a voiceover. For my example, I created a yogurt container made from plants and seeds. To do the stop motion, I built with clay and recycled cardboard my own container so I can pretend that it's plain paste. With craft paper, I made the ground, and with clay and a metal spoon, I did the meaningful animation. Now, let me present you the final product of the stop motion. To evaluate these tools, I use the Big Rat framework. For the first activity, I will set interactive and amplification, because the students interact with the Padlets uploading photos of the waste and labeling them according to the type of polymer. And amplification, because at the beginning of the activity, the students only has a piece of paper and their observation of a specific area in the playground. With the Padlet, they amplify that observation to the whole playground. For the activity 2 and 3, Scratch and Stop Motion, I will say creative and transformation. Creative because in both activities the students became film directors or programmers, and they imagine, decide, research and create whatever they want. To assess these tools, I use this parameter data protection and rights chart, and I conclude that in general terms they are really secure. For stop motion, I did it with Stop Motion Studio, and I only had to download the app and start filming. Although Padlet and Scratch both need a teacher's sign up, but you don't need the students to create accounts, so it's secured for students. For the assessment, each task will be assessed using a natural science degree from the LOMLOE. If you remember, some minutes ago I said that the activities were built following the specific competencies of the curriculum. So this chart is made by the evaluation criteria connected with each of them of the specific competence. For this part, I'm going to do a little comparison about the different ACAD frameworks from the tools. In set design, we can see that Scratch is more digital and on-screen environment, while stop motion is physical and hands-on with the classroom experience. And Padlet acts like a visual container that contrasts both worlds and store the information that the students collect in the physical world. In the epistemic design, Scratch demands mathematical and sequential block programming, while stop motion requires an artistic view and a narrative structure, and Padlet tasks students with synthesizing and critical co-evaluating the final outcomes that they have seen. And in the social design, while Scratch tracked individual or pairs technical development, stop motion forces students to cooperate through fixed human roles, and Padlet opens a whole class collaborative community. The dilemma that I see in these tasks is autonomy versus authority. If you give to a 12-year-old students complete freedom, many children will freeze when they face a blank sheet of paper or choose paths that have nothing to do with science. But if you give them strict instructions, you limit their creativity and discourage their interest. To try to address this dilemma, the activities foster creativity, allowing students to choose what to create, how to solve the problem, and what to tell, all within a framework of guidelines. Providing clear objectives, worksheets to help students stay on track, and general guidelines to shape their creations. To provide clear communication, a notice prior to the project will be sent by a written notification delivered by the children and a message on the center's app. This will be the sent message. Dear families, this week your children are going to become scientists from the future. Through Ecolab 250 project, they are learning science, math, and creativity to raise awareness about the access of plastic in our environment. We will use art and technology to bring them to life. We want to transform students' relation with screens to make them create content instead of consuming it, by learning to use digital tools with responsibility. We have selected tools that don't need personal data to be used. All the works will stay in the safety place of the classroom. We are aware that each family has their own rules about technology. In class, we are going to use this project to reflect about how technology can help the planet, encouraging their thoughtful and balanced use. You're welcome to ask your children about the activities and suggest conversations and inventions to investigate and reflect in class. For each activity, we are going to share the results in the virtual classroom. Thanks for the attention. For the reflective answers, I've chosen question 3, 4, and 5, and let's start with question 3. For question 3, I have to build my play with 5 critical elements, and here they are. Enjoying and reflecting while doing, I put Padlet and Genially. Padlet because I discovered it during this course and I think it's really fun and useful in class. It's easy to use and I can adapt it to my own objectives. And Genially, I knew it existed before, but I've never used it until this course. I'm still learning how to use it, but I like it more and more each time. Continuing with the sharing personal learning network, I decided to put YouTube because even though I've used it before, I've never publishing anything on my own until now. Finally, with reading and accessing information, I've included 2 tools I've discovered in this course: DeepSeek and Semantic Scholar. DeepSeek is an AI assistant specialized in brainstorming and structuring processes, so I'm definitely saving it. On the other hand, Semantic Scholar is a perfect academic search engine to find Ricci's philosophy with just a few keywords. In question 4, the 3 areas that I chose are Area 1, Area 5 and Area 6. Area 1 is professional engagement. This area refers to use of digital technology in our own work environment as teachers. It deals with how we use technology to communicate, to collaborate with colleagues, and to reflect on our own practices. Those contribute to our professional development. An example of this area is Task 12, where we are evaluating our digital tools, considering their usability, educational value, and privacy. Area 5, Empowering Learning. This area means using digital technologies to center learning on the students, promoting active participation, personalization, and inclusion. It means moving away from using technology as a textbook and starting to use it to empower students to make ownership of their learning. An example of this could be Tasks 4, 5, and 6, in which we prepare the activities so the students act as creators, finding how to build an activity to make students make. Finally, Area 6, Facilitating Learners' Digital Competence. This area focuses especially on the student. It means teaching students to be digitally competent. In other words, as teachers, we have to design activities so that the children learn to search for information critically, create content, protect their privacy, and use technology safely and ethically. An example is Task 8 with the DALI games, when we were addressing topics such as data literacy or how we give data away without realizing it. And finally, question 5. I've dedicated a lot of time and effort in this exam. Each activity is well planned and performed for the children, trying to prepare everything that they might need. I think it was worth it and I'm very proud of the results, but although I would like to say that I think that for some activities I didn't give the students the freedom that they deserve or that the project is looking for, and that's why I will address myself with a 9. From the roles, from the activities, the hardest one for me was being an analyst, because I don't feel comfortable grading my teammates. I know that I only have to be fair with the work in the week, but knowing that my grades are going to affect other people's grades make me a bit uncomfortable. At the beginning of the exam, I didn't want to use any AI because I had a lot of ideas. However, when I started working on it, it was a bit difficult to structure the ideas and decide what to show you in the video. So I asked various AI assistants to help me and give me advice about how to structure the idea and what examples to show you and what sheets would I need, like extra resources for the children. We've reached out the end of the exam. Thank you very much for watching it and I hope you like it.